In the ancient, echoing halls of the Sistine Chapel, beneath the breathtaking gaze of Michelangelo's divine masterpieces, the world held its breath. The scarlet-clad cardinals whispered their prayers, each casting a vote with the weight of history. Thick, swirling smoke rose from the chimney above St. Peter's Square. Gray, then white, the world erupted in cheers. As the bells of St. Peter's Basilica rang out, their chimes reverberated through the crowd, signaling a moment unlike any other. Across continents, televisions broadcast the historic announcement, and in homes, workplaces, and churches, people paused, some in joy, some in disbelief. A new chapter was about to unfold. In New York City, church bells echoed down Fifth Avenue. In Lima, thousands gathered outside cathedrals, holding their breath. And in Chicago, where his journey began, friends and family gathered around radios and television screens, disbelief and pride etched on their faces. But this was no ordinary papal conclave. This time, a seismic shift was about to occur. A name that would forever change the course of Catholic history: Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope. But who is this man who has risen to the highest throne of Christendom? And how did he become a symbol of both hope and controversy? The rise of Robert Prevost. Pope Leo XIV was born Robert Prevost in the bustling city of Chicago, USA. His early life was far from the splendor of the Vatican. Raised in a modest, working-class family, young Robert was introduced to faith not through grand cathedrals, but through the quiet comfort of his local parish. His mother, a devout Catholic, instilled in him a love for prayer, while his father, a factory worker, taught him the value of hard work. In the Prevost household, Sundays were sacred. The family would walk together to St. Agnes Parish, their footsteps echoing off the cracked pavement as church bells tolled in the distance. Robert would watch in awe as stained glass filtered sunlight into vibrant colors that danced along the wooden pews. He often lingered after Mass, captivated by the silence of the empty chapel. "There's something powerful here," he once told his mother, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's like God is listening." His mother would smile and place a gentle hand on his shoulder. "He always is, Robert. You just have to listen back." From a young age, Robert was drawn to the church, not just as a place of worship, but as a sanctuary of hope in a world filled with struggles. By his teenage years, he became known for his empathy, spending time with the sick and the poor, seeing Christ's face in the most vulnerable. At just 15, he began volunteering at St. Jude's Soup Kitchen, serving meals to the homeless alongside nuns who marveled at his dedication. Unlike others who simply handed out plates, Robert would sit beside those he served, listening to their stories. He knew their names, their hardships, their dreams. One elderly man named Francis, a war veteran with faded tattoos and shaking hands, would tell Robert tales of battle and bravery. "You listen like a priest," Francis once said, his voice cracking with age. Robert only smiled. "Maybe one day," he replied, not realizing then how prophetic those words would become. At 18, Robert chose a path few would dare. He joined the Augustinian Order, a group known for its commitment to education and missionary work. His decision shocked his friends, who saw him as a young man with a promising future in law or medicine. But Robert's calling was different. When asked why he chose this path, Robert simply replied, "The world is aching, and if I can ease even a small part of that pain, my life is not wasted." It was a conviction that burned in him, one that would not be extinguished by distance, struggle, or even doubt. His journey took him to faraway lands, first to Peru, where he lived among the impoverished, teaching children and providing comfort to the suffering. It was in the dusty streets of Lima that he witnessed both the depths of human despair and the boundless power of faith. In Lima, he walked among the forgotten, the children selling trinkets to tourists, the elderly begging for coins outside markets. He listened to their stories, shared in their sorrows, and reminded them that even in the darkest corners, God's light could still reach. It was here that he began organizing community prayers, food drives, and even education programs for orphans. His hands were never idle. If he wasn't preaching, he was building. If he wasn't building, he was comforting. To many, he wasn't just a priest, he was a beacon of hope. The rise within the Vatican. Upon his return to the United States, his reputation as a compassionate leader grew, earning him the position of Bishop of Chiclayo in Peru. But Robert's journey did not stop there. He was soon summoned to the Vatican, where his wisdom and diplomatic skills saw him appointed to various influential roles. His transition to the Vatican was marked by quiet humility. He walked the marble halls of power with the same simple cross he wore in the slums of Lima. While others spoke in hushed, guarded tones, Robert spoke plainly, often challenging bureaucracy in favor of action. "Faith delayed is faith denied," he would say, urging the Church to move swiftly in matters of justice and mercy. As a close confidant to Pope Francis, Robert was a voice of reason and empathy, a man unafraid to speak uncomfortable truths. His leadership style, firm yet compassionate, earned him respect among his peers. The Papal Conclave of 2025. When Pope Francis's health began to wane, the whispers began. Who would be his successor? Names of European and African cardinals dominated the rumors. But as the conclave doors closed, the cardinals were faced with a choice: maintain the status quo or embrace change. Inside the locked chambers of the Sistine Chapel, tensions ran high. One cardinal remarked that choosing an American was unthinkable, too bold, too risky. But as the ballots were counted, Robert's name began to surface with growing frequency. His reputation for humility and action had crossed borders, igniting hope among reformers and whispers of uncertainty among traditionalists. Ballot after ballot, the votes shifted. Robert Prevost, the humble American bishop, began to rise. His name became a symbol of hope for those longing for a church that would return to its roots, serving the poor, comforting the lost, and standing as a beacon of moral authority in a fractured world. The battle for the church's soul. But Pope Leo XIV's papacy was anything but peaceful. From his very first day, he faced fierce opposition. His bold calls for transparency in the Vatican's finances and his commitment to holding corrupt clergy accountable earned him both praise and powerful enemies. Some called him a disruptor, others a savior. Inside the Vatican walls, whispers of dissent grew louder. Secret meetings were held, and alliances were forged to curb his influence. But Leo XIV remained unshaken, continuing his work with a steadfastness that both inspired and unnerved his critics. Traditionalists saw him as a threat, an American outsider with a vision that threatened centuries of tradition. When Pope Leo XIV opened the archives of the Vatican's abuse cases and vowed to cooperate fully with civil authorities, a wave of resistance emerged. Bishops in powerful positions accused him of betraying the Church's image. Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope, is a figure who embodies both hope and controversy. From his humble beginnings in Chicago to the grandeur of the Vatican, his journey is a testament to the power of faith, courage, and humility. His papacy is more than just a role. It is a movement, a beacon for reform, a call for transparency, and a reminder that true faith is lived, not just preached. But his story is far from over. In an ancient institution often resistant to change, Pope Leo XIV is a force of transformation, a man determined to guide the Church into a new era of truth and justice.